Okay guys, welcome to lesson 2. Don't forget to sign off on page 9 here on verbal communication, and then proceed to said page and we'll get started. So now that we've outlined communication and the process of communication, what we're going to look at now is the next syllabus dot point is verbal and non-verbal communication. So we're going to spend a lesson on verbal communication, and then we're going to spend probably 2 to 3 on non-verbal communication, and we'll go from there. So today's lesson is going to focus on verbal communication. So there is a word bank here, as usual, for you guys to complete for your core notes. Basically, in a nutshell, verbal communication is the noise that we make when our voice is communicating. So things like talking, laughing, crying, yelling, humming, singing. All of that is part of verbal communication, what I'm doing right now. I've got some kind of interesting photos there for you guys to consider, just to give you a bit of a smile about what verbal communication is and why it's important. What I want you to do after you've done those core notes there is a statement activity. So you're going to have to do this individually. I would have liked, you don't have to, you can. I know some of you guys are FaceTiming or Zooming each other as you do these lessons, which I think is an amazing idea for you guys to still be learning in a collaborative environment. That's awesome. So here I've written in pairs or groups, but you may have to do it individually. I want you to read the following statements out aloud, and I want you to place different emphasis on various words or parts of the phrase each time. So that can be done by utilizing different tones. So what I mean by tones is you can talk about it really fast and slow, or you can talk about it really, really slow. Your tone, your pitch might be high or your pitch might be low. You can use different accents or inflections to change the meaning of these statements. So inflections are when you might put a certain emphasis on a certain word. And I'll do some examples in a second. And what you could also do is maybe state the statement in a monotone voice, a sarcastic voice, a suggestive voice, a dismissive voice, and an emotive voice. And this is going to change the meaning of these sentences. So if I go to statement 2, for example, if I said something like, "Can't wait for Monica's party this weekend," I'm using that in a sort of sarcastic and dismissive tone. But if I was like, "I can't wait for Monica's party this weekend," I am more emotive. The meaning of that is probably more positive, whereas the former was more negative. You could even turn it sort of into a question. So like, "I went to the movies with Joey." So that inflection creates a completely different meaning to "I went to the movies with Joey." Okay, so you can see how the tone and inflections there can change the meanings of entire statements. So statement 3, for example, "Mr. Brown is by far my favourite teacher." That's the only way you should really be saying that. There's no need for sarcasm, dismissive language there. We only want emotive and positive inflections there. Okay, so say each of those 3 statements, playing around with those tones and inflections, and that is an example or a clear example of how verbal communication can change the meaning of an entire process. If we go back up to here, the different inflections you put on can completely change how the receiver decodes your message. Okay, whether that's a suggestive tone, a monotone tone of voice, or it's sarcastic, they're going to interpret it very differently based on all your tone and inflection. Another example I want you to look at are misinterpreting song lyrics. So what I want you to do is look up each of these songs, and there's a section of the song where they sing their actual lyrics. So these are 3 really popular songs, and then these are what is commonly misheard on those song lyrics. So I want you to look them up on YouTube, whatever, listen to the song, reading the actual lyrics, and then I want you to listen to the segment again and see if you can hear why people might be misinterpreting those lyrics there. Okay, so that'll be an interesting little exercise. Just below this table, what I want you to write is what you think the cause of the interference is. So obviously this is creating some level of interference, whether it's a mispronunciation, you might think it's a certain accent they're putting on, whatever it is. I want you to write the reason that you think that people commonly misinterpret all of these song lyrics, just below here. Okay? Again, another cheeky little test to see if people are watching these videos or not. Questions to finish off with is questions 1 to 4. I want you to answer these in your big boy book, please. So list 3 examples of how culture or the environment may affect verbal communication. So culture being your beliefs and values, or environment being your physical environment. So that could be things like noise or background noise. 2, what issues could arise when someone speaks in a monotone voice? Monotone voice being very flat with little expression whatsoever, like I'm speaking right now. So that would be an example of a monotone voice. Give an example, question 3, of when you have encoded verbal communication and it was misinterpreted. So encoding meaning that you have uploaded that information or that you're communicating that information. Give me an example where someone's misinterpreted what you've said, okay? Because I want this to be focusing on verbal communication. And I want you to indicate what the interference might have been. Then I want you to, question 4, list your own song that you've misinterpreted the lyrics to. Similar to this table, tell me what the artist and song was, what the actual lyrics are, and what you misheard them, and then identify what the interference was, or in other words, why did you misinterpret that? And that's done. Question 2, lesson 2, sorry, thank you. A third example that I was going to do if we were in class was Chinese whispers. You've all played that game before, and again the interference mainly occurs there due to mispronunciation, background noise, the idea that you say a phrase or a statement to someone, they whisper it around, and right at the end obviously the statement's been misinterpreted and everyone gets a giggle. Feel free to play it with your family or your friends, but that's going to be pretty hard to do in an online COVID environment, so don't worry about that one too much. What I'd like you to do then, moving on here for these questions, is I want you to list at least 10 ways, at least 10, so you can do more, but at least 10 ways that people communicate with each other, and I want you to categorize these under different types in the table below. So for example, speaking would be verbal, something non-verbal might be gestures, something technology-based might be texting, something written might be a letter. So what I want you to do is list at least 10 ways. It doesn't have to be 10 ways sort of in each table, like 10 verbal, 10 non-verbal, 10 technology, 10 written, just 10 overall would be great. So you're aiming there for at least kind of 3 to 2 examples in each column there, okay? And then what I want you to do finally is I want you to outline a situation that has resulted in miscommunication for you due to interference. So tell me about a story where, something you've said has been misinterpreted, something you text auto-corrected to something different and it changed the complete meaning. Whatever it is, I want you to outline a situation that was misinterpreted due to interference for you. And that's it for this lesson. Thank you.